Hello, you filthy scumbags.
Guys, we're celebrating today. It is our 21st episode, and statistically, that puts us in the top 1% of podcasts. So, you're
Hello.
talking to some top 1% podcasters today. So, today we hope to piss off both sides of the political spectrum because what we're
Yeah.
presenting is not woke, it's actually indigenous and ancient. Take it from three recovering pygmies, or as I like to say, pygmishas. We are decentering men. We are decentering men. We talk a lot about getting closer to matriarchy and the world healing and, humans actually working together. What a concept. And to move closer to matriarchy, which is biologically the best thing we could do. Our closest biological cousin is the bonobo, if you know that ape, the bonobo. And they are strictly matriarchal and have a great time doing it. Indigenously, as humans, we have been matriarchal. So, to move closer to what is natural to us and good for us, matriarchy, we have to dethrone men. We're going to be talking patriarchy today, and not to give the crown straight over to women. Because, unlike in patriarchy, where we are centering men, in matriarchy, we're not centering women. We are centering children, the elderly, and the disabled. And of course, the earth. In a matriarchy, women and men are, after that are then equals, though women do hold the community together and work together for the good of all. Violence is bred out because violent men are not allowed to breed, etc., etc. The future is femme. We're decentering men. If you have spent any time of the past year of your life worrying about a guy, even if it's like your male boss, for more than an hour, this episode is for you.
And I want to say this topic, I think, and why we wanted to say this is we hope it provokes both sides of the political spectrum is because this isn't a woke topic, even though some people might think it is, because so much of the conversation right now is happening maybe in left-wing community, but this conversation is old, it's ancient, it's a remembrance of the very nature of who we are as a species and what we're actually biologically designed for. It's also not about superiority. It's not about shitting on men. It's about honoring the strengths of everyone in society and where our strengths can actually come out, right? Where how safety is created, how successful tribe is created, and matriarchy is all about giving everyone a space, right? It gives everybody the right space for themselves. And yeah, I'm really excited to talk about this topic because, like Sab said, we all have a complicated history with this, as do most women, because hello, we're raised in this generation. We were raised by parents who were even more entrapped in this. They were raised by parents who were even more entrapped and didn't even have a choice. Nonetheless, the ability to open their own line of credit and to even own property, depending on your family's history. So this is a very relevant thing for this point in time. And the other thing I think is super cool is that we just so happen to be in a very interesting astrological time that relates to this topic, actually. A lot of women have been talking about in the spiritual spheres this summer, this time of, Cancer season, what happened with this last moon and Mercury, what's happening with right now. So I think it's a really great timing for us to talk about this.
Basically, right now we have four big outer planets which rule the collective and its thoughts and themes and vibes. Four of them at the fourth degree, which is parallel with the fourth house in astrology, house of the mother, the fourth sign, Cancer, sign of the mother.
Hmm. Yep, lots of mother energy coming in hot.
So today is not about canceling men and putting women on the throne in their place. Mm-mm.
That's right.
So here's what we're gonna get into. Major talking points. Why men are centered. Patriarchy, obviously. But why? Why do we have a patriarchy? What male centering looks and feels like. What a pick me is if you're unfamiliar with the term. And if you're listening to this and you're like, maybe I'm a pick me, that's okay. You're here, you're doing the work to deconstruct. Why centering men is damaging not just for women and children and the disabled and the elderly, but also for men. Patriarchy also hurts men.
Yep.
How to
Mhm.
decenter men and some practices of then centering ourselves. I believe every human should be centering themselves first and foremost because you cannot pour from an empty cup. And secondarily, taking care of those who cannot take care of themselves. That's what children, the elderly, and the disabled have in common. So let's crack into it. Why are men centered? Why do we have a patriarchy, ladies?
Oh, what a history
That's such a
indeed.
loaded question.
I know.
I can speak from personal experience. The way that I was programmed as a child was very based in religion. And that is, I feel, the root of the patriarchy and, that version. And it's just somebody's opinion, right? That got put into a spiritual lens and then was, glorified and put on a pedestal and said it was the word of God when it was these men writing it with certain views culturally, etc. And I feel like from that early age, we are all programmed into the patriarchy, right? So we are taught from the beginning, most of us, that that is what you do. So that is why a lot of us have no idea of this concept of even decentering men or what it is, or even realize we may feel it in our bodies, right? We may feel it intuitively, like this is not right. This is not fair. This doesn't make sense. This could be done so much better. But a lot of times women, until they're exposed to this type of material, or anyone is exposed to this type of way of thinking, they don't even know it, understand it as a concept.
Right.
And so the patriarchy as a structure, wishes to control the population. Government is the word for mind. To control minds. That is what the government does, right? And that is the source of the patriarchy in our experience. And their whole goal is to control the population. So in order to do this, they're going to program their own wants, needs, desires, and beliefs. And so from the beginning, especially with religion, the very first book, the very first chapters, they're demonizing women, right? Eve, why did you eat that apple? Why did you tempt your husband? You're evil. And so now you have to bleed and have painful childbirth for the rest of your life.
Not only that, but the curse of Eve was pain in childbirth
Mm-hmm.
and to be tied to her husband.
Yeah.
This Christian mythology is the curse of patriarchy.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
God, Yahweh, the ancient Canaanite God, was like, you will submit to your husband and your desire will only be for him.
Mm-hmm.
And might I add that, and I will boldly say this, very boldly say this, I 100% believe, just based on my obsession with history and my personal studies of it throughout all of my education, that the patriarchy, in summary, is directly and most affected by Abrahamic religious tradition.
Of
Oh,
course.
Without
yeah.
a shadow of a doubt, right? It has been founded by the three major religions that are based on the Old Testament: Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, modern Judaism, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for the last 3,000 years or so, this system of religion, which was also a system of politics, which became the system of government, even in the United States, which was meant to be a religious freedom, a country founded in religious freedom, did not at all follow that model actually in reality, right? Just inherited these same models of ruling based on religious belief, not actually anything based in biology, nature, or science. And a lot of what it was centered on, as Lauren was just saying, is the demonization of the feminine. The one of the foundational principles of the church, of the modern church in the last 2 to 3,000 years pre or post Christ, was all about the demonization of the feminine. They rewrote Mary Magdalene. They rewrote his mother even to make her, right, the concept of either
Yeah.
being a virgin and a saint, or a temptress and a demon, right? Was
Mm-hmm.
this paradox, this duality has been played upon and propagandized in our minds for 3,000 years. So, yeah, most of us don't even realize it's happening until we realize it's happening, right? Until another woman speaks to it, until we hear about this for the first time, or we get examples, which I'm excited to get into next, right? Of like, how does this actually look? Because we don't realize we're doing it. There's so many things I notice other people doing, or like even my own mom, I'll be like, oh my gosh, I see her doing something and I know she doesn't know she's doing it for that reason. And then I'm like, oh my God, and that's exactly where I learned it, right? It's this ancestral inheritance that we want to heal and we want to
Hmm.
transform, right?
I'm thinking about how even our money says, "In God we trust," in a country that is supposed to be
Mm-hmm.
religiously, spiritually open and free. Was that actually the intention?
Right.
What about goddess? And so my question becomes, what does our society, colonialism, imperialism, capitalism, what does it seek to gain from demonizing and casting out 50% of the picture of being the feminine?
Yeah. I think it I think that is the question, right? And what we've seen is that well, one, it was pretty smart. Not that I agree with it, but evil genius, right? I can tip my hat to the strategy because what is the feminine? What is the feminine power? Is a power of nature, is a power that is inherently untamable. Might I add, women do not subjugate in nature. Submission is not a part of femininity. If you see models in most animal kingdoms, the male submits himself to the female. Now we're talking right in terms of mating and partnership and biology, and there are other realms too, which we can talk about. There's nuance, but females hold so much spiritual power. And they also hold the power to choose who they reproduce with, the power to continue lineage. And so that inherent biological and spiritual power that females hold in the species is to a insecure masculine who seeks subjugation and power over something versus power with, right? It is a threat because it inherently honors sovereignty, it inherently honors choice, it inherently honors the wildness of nature and expression, right? All of this is a part of, has always been part of goddess traditions, has always been a part of the intuition, the femininity, the Holy Spirit, which also actually was the goddess, by the way, which was converted into the genderless Holy Spirit in the Bible, because it is about personal power and personal choice. Why did the patriarchy find benefit in this? Because they needed to subjugate different tribes, different cultures, different languages, and different spiritual traditions all around the world. And in order to do that, in order to dominate places and people that were never theirs, they had to weaponize, right? They had to weaponize turning us on one another, right? And I think that is actually the truth, is that men are just as harmed because we're turned against one another instead of the power of how we can actually flourish in an ecosystem together, right?
Yeah, it's a divide and conquer tactic, right? It's
Exactly.
not men versus women, because as you said, the men are harmed just as much because they're taken out of natural balance as well. Even though they're the ones that seemingly are in control, they're still being manipulated by their own emotions, their own frame of thought, the way that they think, logical fallacies, being triggered emotionally and physically and these type of things. So it is really a divide and conquer aspect of trying to get people to quarrel and bicker among themselves instead of pay attention to what's actually happening. And the people who have designed this to be this way are still people, and there are much fewer of them than there are of us. So the best way to control a group that's larger than you is to get them to not even pay attention to you and fight
Yeah.
with each other.
It literally, like, it's war strategy, right? Like you've seen this, Lauren, like time and time again in like military training, right? And very ironically, the men themselves are being weaponized by those in power without, like, they're not actually in control or power. They are submitting to the power, right? They are submitting to an authority and being a pawn for that authority, right? Military, navy, politicians, they don't actually have autonomy or real leadership. They're given a false sense of control and leadership. Police force, all of these type of things are given a false sense of leadership and control, but really there's someone above them and above them and above them, right? It's like this whole pecking order.
Mm-hmm. In patriarchy, violent men get to breed and beget more violence.
Yeah.
We are seeing a pullback from it in our culture, and we have the male loneliness epidemic, which I believe is just violent men not getting to breed, aka incels.
Mm,
Because
absolutely.
all the men that I know that are amazing have no idea what the male loneliness epidemic is. Like, you're lonely, maybe let's figure out why. You know, it hurts men too. I'm not taking away from the validity of how they got there and that they are lonely, because they are.
Yeah,
But
you know
maybe we
the
should look about the choices that were made and the decisions and the behaviors that led to that. Because in those situations, I mean, I had to come to the same realization when I was having my dark night of the soul, right? It's just typically women develop faster mentally and emotionally than men. And so we usually do this in our teens and early 20s of like being like
For the
looking
first
at all of
time.
the situations in our life and realizing, oh, I don't like the way my life is right now. Who's the only common
yeah.
denominator? Me.
Oh
So
yeah.
I have to look at my own behavior, my own choices, my own
Mm,
decisions, and see how those affected those people around me, including myself, for me to see actually the reality of why I am here. But I think that there's a lot of resistance and introspection in the
mm,
particular type of men that we're talking about, right? Because not all
yes.
men, we're not talking about all men, because we know a few amazing men who are integrated, who are balanced, who are emotionally aware, who can manage themselves, who can manage others, who can hold space, that create safety for women. And they get what we're saying here.
Yeah.
But at the same
Mhm.
time, if this is the first time you're hearing this, and you're male bodied, this may trigger you a little bit. This doesn't necessarily mean that you're completely lost, but you do have to look at yourself, just as all of us have to look at ourselves and figure out, what am I responsible for here?
Yep.
And we can do that now for the first time in a very long time in our patriarchal world. Women are no longer treated as property. I mean, there's certainly remnants of it, but we
Hmm.
can have our own careers, bank accounts, mortgages. We literally do not need men, whereas we needed them for a very long time to even have a place in society, thousands of years.
Yep. For the first time, women are completely self selecting only by desire who they want to be with for their lives. And a lot of women are by themselves.
There are so many more that have the privilege of choice now than ever before.
Right. And they are self selecting to be celibate or single for long periods of time. They are self selecting to not just take a husband or, enter into the world of
Well, they
dating
had to.
the things that they don't agree with, and that is a revolution. Like it really is a revolution. And yes, there are hard parts about this time right now as we shift. There's going to be, right, with change, it always comes growing pains and discomforts and a little bit of messiness, but it's also so beautiful because literally we've never had this moment before, at least in 3 4 thousand years. And it's huge, but also it's huge for men, it's huge for everyone, because men also greatly benefit from this because they, when as matriarchy grows, as female sovereignty grows, their sovereignty in their emotional world and the freedom they get also grows. They get permission for that part that was beaten down by the patriarchy, that was taken away from them too, because everybody lost that. Everybody got all of us had that part shunned, all of us had that part demonized, right? And so it's a really amazing return home.
I don't know if we quite mentioned this so directly, but if we take the feminine out of things, we did naturally disempower people because the feminine is power. It is our
Mm-hmm.
connection directly to nature. And if we are disconnected from nature, we're disconnected from God, and that is easily replaced with all different types of gods, and we become unexploitable.
Yep. It's the
So
foundation of personal power and sovereignty, like the entire foundation.
femininity as a concept within men, women, non-binary people, everybody.
Yes.
And meaning all yin concepts, including because something that is so abstract, and you said, I think, untamable, P, cannot be quantified, cannot be commodified, cannot
Right.
be exploited.
Right. It doesn't fit in capitalism either, which is a whole nother a
Think
whole
about the concept of rest in capitalism. Rest is a yin concept.
hmm
And how many of us feel so
creativity too in the arts, like, right? We need we know we need these things psychologically and biologically, and we all suffer for it, right? When we strip away the space and the ability to like honor and respect those things as much as we honor and respect hustle, as much as we honor and respect warriors, as much as we honor and respect doctor or whatever career, right? Like we just want equanimity for the respect and the choice, right? And that's what walking towards this brings.
I think every human, most every human on earth wants this. Like the past Sunday was the World Cup. The halftime show was all about love. 2 billion people, a fourth of the planet, watched that message about love and unity and working together. Like humanity wants this, but we have to be the ones to, as the ants, to be like, there's more of us than there are of the grasshoppers.
Mm-hmm.
And once we figure that out, and I think we are, and I think the barbell to basket and all the astrology that is hearkening us more and closer back into matriarchy. This is not a first time occurrence. This is returning to an old thing that is biologically imperative for our survival. We're still opening up and laying foundation here for this discussion. Like, okay, I understand why not patriarchy. It's harmful, it's disempowering, but why matriarchy? It is biologically imperative to our survival. And when we do not have women selecting their mates, and it's the other way around, we cannot continue to evolve as a species. We are just taking any type of genes, any type of temperament, when every man under the patriarchy deserves a wife and is given a wife. So it's whales, apes, which we are, elephants, and a few select insects that go through menopause.
I just think it's the most
Why?
fascinating thing because the fact that we have this evidence in nature, it speaks completely for itself that we're one of the only species that goes through menopause. And what does that mean biologically? We know through the study of the animal kingdom that the only reason a species goes through a female goes through a period in which they are fertile and then they become unfertile for the rest of their life instead of just actually ending their life at that marker is because that species is wired to rule. The females of that species are wired to lead. And now, again, this doesn't mean lead over men or over anyone. It's hard to understand because we've been in the framework of patriarchy for so long that is not what we're talking about here. It's not like
They're
the
the
law.
wisdom carriers. So they
Yeah.
carry the wisdom for the next
Mhm.
generation to survive. So we're meant to share
Mhm.
the wisdom and to lead based off of that wisdom, not because we're better than or stronger than or more intelligent. It's because we have had experience and through that experience are better able to survive. And
Right.
so those ones who carry that wisdom can then share that with the next generation so that
Mm.
species
It's
can
it's
live.
the it's
Yes,
the
and that
grandmother elephants. I know you
exactly.
love elephants, feet. It's the grandmother elephants who remember where all the good watering holes are and where
Mm.
the predators
The
hang out.
yeah, the whales that teach the younger
Yeah.
generations how to catch prey in a certain way, like that is what they do. They teach.
Right. It's inherently exactly that. We see in our biology that females are wired to lead education in the later years of their life. They're
Mhm.
meant to be the wisdom carriers. They're meant to pass that on to everyone else in the tribe. And it's the only reason we see that gene actually that chemistry, that biology actually shift because what we see in other species is if the reproduction capability continues through the life, that the females are never out of the perpetual cycle of child rearing, right? That their main and entire purpose through the lifespan is just raising and rearing the next generation, raising and rearing. We only have a pocket of time that that's available. And so the whole pretty much second half of our life, arguably, is completely meant for sovereignty from that and for leadership in the realms of teaching and knowledge sharing. It's pretty epic.
TLDR, we're supposed to be a world run by grandmas. And think about the most demonized, unworthy, worthless group in our society. Not just women, but women who have aged.
It makes me so sad.
Even when you're 30 years old, you're washed up, you're too old, you're not, right?
Yeah. That's what they try to teach you, but it's not true. It's a fallacy. It's not true.
That's the foundation on
Just
why
gets better.
men are censored, why we have patriarchy when we evidently should be having matriarchy. So let's talk about what that male censoring actually looks like in everyday life. What does it feel like?
Yeah,
Big ways.
I think you guys, I would love to hear from you, like examples you've noticed that are harder to catch, because the obvious ones are obvious to most people listening, right? Like we get the big concept of patriarchy, but like what does it look like internally for us in our relationships, friendships, partnerships, etc., workplaces, right? That like these sneaky ways that we put more weight on men versus women.
I got a hot take that we are all guilty of at times, and that is putting our male partners, even male children, male coworkers or bosses, holding so much of our attention and emotional weight instead of our female relations.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that the way that a male in our society lives his longest life is if he's married to a woman? And the way that a woman lives her longest life in our society,
if she's
this
single.
is scientifically proven, is directly correlated with the richness of her female relationships.
Mm-hmm. Her coven directly correlates to coven.
Yeah.
The tribe.
This is a sacrilege word, coven, witch. What is that actually? It's an empowered woman standing next to other empowered women. And that is the worst thing that could happen to the powers that are trying to keep our human race in bondage.
Yeah, well, and I think that men and women don't experience relationships the same. I won't say all relationships, right? Because there are relationships out there that are balanced and, in good reciprocity. But for the type of relationships that we're talking about, for example, if, say, a man and a woman have children, right? The woman sacrifices so much more to have that child than the man ever could, right? It literally uses our body to create it, right? So our body changes, and then feeding the baby, if we're blessed enough to be able to breastfeed the child, that takes a toll on the body. The woman has to stay home
not to mention
more often. Yeah, well, and birth, that's what I'm saying, like the whole physical toll on the body. But then say they both do go back to work, right? Most oftentimes the men are more dependent on the females because the men come home and ask what's for dinner, right? The women come home and make the dinner. Well, and there was actually a study of men to stay home with their children, and it was supposed to be a 6-week study. And before it was even halfway done, I believe 75% of the men were like, I literally can't do this.
Yeah.
Like, I literally can't do this, because they lose themselves. And it's so hard for them to explain or to quantify all of the work that it takes just to become a home care or a home person who takes care of their children and takes care of the home, right? So there's a much more physical toll on the women to have children. And typically the women are expected to be responsible for the care of the children, the care of the family, etc.
And then if you don't have a career as a woman and you're a mother, then you're a loser.
Right, exactly. And oftentimes that's how they get stuck.
Right. If being a stay-at-home mom was enjoyable, the patriarchy would have already taken it from us.
And
Well, I mean, people say that they want to get back to the way it was in like the 40s, 50s, 60s, but those women were clinically depressed.
with
They were having
bodies.
mental health issues that weren't being addressed. And so that's why Quaaludes were invented.
yeah, literally.
They were invented for the housewife who was depressed and had no energy and had no drive or zest for life anymore because her sole purpose had been completely wiped away and turned into you're just a home care taker,
Servitude.
right?
Right. And that's
Right. So, and that's why it's so important when you do choose to pair with a man, um, or a partner when you want to have kids is the difference in a man saying he wants children versus a man saying he wants a family.
mm-hmm.
A
Or
man
just
who
the
wants
father.
children typically expects the woman to take, he wants that status of having children, but not the responsibility of caring for them. Right. But
He
those who want
also
a family tend to be more involved and actually want to participate in that what that is versus just having children to have children.
he
And
also needs
honestly,
to understand it's never going to be equal.
yeah, I was gonna say, even with the greatest man and male partner on earth, I would still argue it will never be equal because, as you mentioned, Lauren, like not only the physical cost the woman gives her literal life for, but emotionally, like biologically, hormonally, how we are wired to feel and relate to our children is incomparable to how men are. And again, you can be an amazing dad, don't get me wrong, but it's chemically different. How we bond, how we have deep entanglement and empathy with our children will always look different. Female to child versus male to child. Bringing the honor and the respect and the weight of that acknowledgement back into the conversation is a whole part of this too, right? Go ahead.
Lauren, you mentioned the depression that we saw these trad wives in the 40s, 60s trying to make a comeback now, which not that traditional, wasn't done for that long. Tradition is actually matriarchy. We saw them go through these mental health epidemics because they were alone. In patriarchy, there is not us, there's the nuclear family, right? There's not
Mm-hmm.
us working with our cousins and our aunts and our grandmothers and our mothers to raise the children. There's an isolation
Right.
to control. And we also mention
And monetize.
how, well, if you don't be a mother and work, then you're a loser. And even worse, you're a gold digger.
Oh, I
Which
love it.
Gold digger is a
where's your
whole
gold?
category.
Where's your gold to be dug? Because
I
you gotta
inherently
have
do
it.
not believe women can be gold. Only men can be gold diggers. And I will die on that hill.
My counter to that, yeah, is a woman wanting resources for herself, her children. How is that gold digging? Gold diggers want Birkins and yachts, not their light bill paid.
Yep. Not a mutual
And
compensation.
and not only that, but taking care of the children. Oh, he supports her fully. Actually, through her domestic, completely invisible labor and childcare, which could be billed for $500,000 a year, all the roles that a stay-at-home mom is doing, she is actually supporting him so he can have a career and a livelihood and a place in society. It's
Yes.
so
It has
backwards.
been it has been shown in studies that men are more successful in their careers and have longer lives when they're married because the woman provides all of the background stuff that they need in order to be successful.
And then
Right.
they want them to pay half the bills. And I'm like, on what planet? And
Yeah.
this is why, and for this reason, we see women getting divorced and being happier than ever, never marrying, never having children. We have that right to choose now, and it's happening. And
Mm.
it's sad because, having a family is beautiful. But this is us we are moving back towards matriarchy.
We
So
need
hallelujah to that. It just sucks having
it
to
does.
pull
It's
back from all that.
it's because it's also not the answer, right? It's not that because I think we've been sold such a lie about both these extremes. One is like the patriarchal trad wife extreme, like submission to the husband, nuclear family, old 40s and 50s mentality, and the other is like the modern feminism, and both is causing harm to women actually because it is beautiful and powerful if you want a family and if you want children and if you want to have that life, like to be respected for that just as much as if you're like, no, I want to be a boss bitch, or you want a combination of both. That's all in your right. The problem is the model. The nuclear family, the isolated family is hurting women, not having children. Do you know what I'm saying? Like inherently, we're demonizing the wrong thing. It's not about, oh yeah, let's just never have children or get married anymore. No, if you want that and you know that's fulfilling for you and it's a desire for you, beautiful. But we need to go back to tribe. We need to go back to mate. We need support and we need connection. We've always been meant to do it this way. And I do want to also mention, because some people listening might be thinking, okay, but we've been talking a lot about children too, like, right, the role of raising kids. But I want to say too, I strongly feel that even if children are not part of the conversation and you're never having children with the person, the benefit of what a man is getting from you in a heterosexual relationship is still greatly outweighed what he's getting than what you're getting, just energetically and emotionally, not even bringing kids into the picture, because the foundation of a woman's love, a woman's presence, a woman's heart, that giving that to someone or something is so much currency. It amplifies your wealth, it amplifies your free time, it amplifies your energy, it amplifies your inspiration, it amplifies all these aspects of life. Do you know what I mean? So it's not even just about kids, but the resources of a woman and just her presence, her love, her attention gives. Like, there's so much there.
Mm-hmm. You said even if children are not part of the conversation, they have to be.
Mm.
If we're talking in a matriarchal term, like no one is child free.
Yes, at a tribal level for sure.
Mm-hmm. So
true.
they are still part of, even if you
Mhm.
never have children yourself,
Mhm.
they still have to be part of the conversation. So wrapping up on this topic, what male centering looks like and feels like, language, little things. It is that deep, right? Oh, he has so many dogs. That's amazing. He's a dog person. Oh, she has so many cats. She's a crazy cat lady. Oh, wow, he's doing so amazing at work. He is working so hard and he's gotten a promotion. Oh, she got a promotion. She probably sucked someone's you know what to get it. Like all these ways that we talk about men and women on the same topic, putting men on a pedestal and degrading women. I can give you 1,000 more examples like this. But just watching the micro ways that we talk about things, like I have an amazing doctor. What's his name? Well, why didn't you
Mhm.
assume it's a man?
It's all based of the root is the way that we think about and value
Mm-hmm. And
men and
what we
women.
value.
It's
Yep.
Yeah.
so tiny and minuscule, and I think those are the ones that give us the death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Yes.
Like we can say, okay, I'm caring too much what my male boss thinks. I'm caring too much what this guy I'm dating thinks. Those are more obvious, but it's the little
Mm-hmm.
sewn in unconscious language bits that hold up the culture and the notion that men are greater, women are lesser.
I think one that I noticed that is still, I think, irks me more than anything, especially being a woman who leads a company, as you two do as well, is the notion of bossiness. You will like, I don't know if ever one time in my life I have heard a man called bossy. Like, actually, ever once, I don't know if I've ever heard anyone I've ever known call a man bossy, and how frequently I've heard women call that, including to one another, because it goes right. It's not just men calling women bossy; it's women calling other women bossy, and even like our
Ooh,
subtle, our subtle brainwashing of, even when we see a woman express that way, we see a woman talk that way, how we judge it. That is
let's
like a huge part of it.
that is the perfect segue into our next segment, talking about female competition. The patriarchy keeps women down by keeping us in competition with each other, vying for what? Male attention. And let me tell you, male attention, male approval is biologically rooted in us and tied to survival. That there is a legitimacy in that, right? If males are stronger, having their attention means more protection. If they are mainly the providers of sustenance, having their, like, as hunters, which women can be hunters, women can definitely be hunters and have in indigenous cultures gone and hunt with the males. The female lion hunts. then being in the attention of a male who's providing safety or food or whatever, that approval and attention is biologically rooted in us to equate to our survival and our well-being, okay? But we take it way too far, and with men who ain't doing shit for us.
Right. That's
Just
how it's been so inverted, right? It's like
mhm.
that role actually isn't even a part of the question anymore, and yet we're acting that way towards men that do actually the antithesis of protecting us and antithesis of providing for us, right? And even sometimes so much inverted that we're the one protecting and providing, and we're still seeking their approval, which is mind-boggling at a biological, animalistic level, right? But it's been happening for so long. It infiltrated so deeply into our consciousness over so many years.
Let's talk about pygmishas.
I have a theory that pick me's are dangerous to other women.
Of course.
They're dangerous. Like, I definitely designate those type of people as a dangerous person. Because they will literally do anything. They'll throw you or any other woman under the bus because they view other women as competition. So instead of helping another woman or warning another woman, they will instead, do whatever they need to do to become the center of attention for the male
Do you
gaze.
know
So,
what is one of the biggest, most hurtful ways I see that, Lauren? You'll relate to this. Is hearing from a woman about a guy that we just started dating that he's actually terrible, and being like, "Oh well, that's because you're crazy. That's because you're a bitch. I'm
Wait,
not.
you're
So he's gonna
you're
treat me better."
yeah.
oh like
Another girl's trash is another girl's trash too.
oh I
They
see.
don't change for you.
Yeah. That's a good one. That's a really good example.
Because he treated her badly, but that's because she's crazy. I'm
Yeah.
not like that.
Oh, so
I'm not
Creating
like
this
the other
separation
girls.
from
so
our sisters who are trying to help us and warn us in competing for the male approval. And
yeah.
that is us perpetuating patriarchy, further distancing ourselves from. Because when we talk about matriarchy, we're talking about female relationships and
Hmm.
females working together.
Yeah. And one way I see this playing out really subtly in women is just like the level we critique one another compared to the level we critique men is like
Hmm.
that is one
Or
that's
ourselves.
really sneaky. Yes, 100%. It's happening in both levels, right? But that's sneaky and happens a lot. Like what we forgive and brush off or let go of for a
For
man
men.
versus what we forgive, brush off, let go of for a woman, so drastically different. So drastically different. I see examples of that a lot, like still, like in and around all the time. The grace, right? The grace we give men looks very different than the grace we give women. And I think that's a place, especially for us women, to like keep highlighting in ourselves and remembering to give like each other way more grace than we're giving the dudes. Like we should be giving ample grace, like try to go the like to balance it out, right? Give more grace to
You should
ourselves.
not give any benefit of a doubt to a male. I'm just going to put that out there as a rule if you want to follow it. You shouldn't. Why? Why would you? Do you give that benefit of the doubt to yourself? Do you give that mercy and grace to yourself? What about your mom?
And this really is like the behavior of being a pick me is a trauma response, right? Oftentimes it's out of survival and then we don't realize. And when you're in survival, right, you're not thinking with your conscious awareness. You're thinking with your literal, like the reptilian part of your brain. And
Mm,
you're not thinking with the prefrontal cortex of, being rational and thinking about things and what might happen if I do this or how this may this affect this person. So it is really a trauma response. It's not a character flaw. However, it is your responsibility to be reflective and look inward and see where you may be a pick me. Because even though we say we're recovering pick me's, I'm sure there's still parts of our psyche or early programming that can come out in different ways, right? So it's our responsibility to look at our behaviors and see
mm,
how are we possibly creating unneeded competition?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how are we out of survival looking for male approval or male presence,
Mm-hmm.
and where we could really get that from our community of
Yeah,
women, other women, or
exactly.
ourselves?
Be a girl's girl. The more and more, like, just keep, if you're going to put your time and your mind on anything, don't let it be towards the men you're pursuing, the men you're dating, the men you're interested in, the man you're with. Let it be on, how can I be a better girl's girl? Like, seriously, like,
Hmm.
how can I be a better friend to my girls, to my women, to my tribe and my extended tribe? And how can I be more of a female centered being? You know, because we're really wired as women, like, we are inherently wired for the tribe's needs above our own. So it actually is medicine to be more focused on the self. Like, actually, because it doesn't mean you're going to be a cold-hearted bitch. Like, it means you're going to be more balanced in both, because you will always have that wiring. You will always have wiring for compassion, empathy, and tribe, right? So, like, bringing back more of the self, the, like, the truth, the needs of you and of your women, right, around you is so important.
Women inherently care and inherently give. So
Mm-hmm.
if you center yourself, that doesn't mean you're going to stop doing those things. You'll just be able to do more of them.
Part of the reason why, not being aware of yourself, or isolating yourself or monitoring yourself constantly, the reason this is so damaging is because it's exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting to be limiting yourself and making yourself smaller, and abandoning yourself over and over again, and abandoning the needs of others, other women, other children, the elderly, for approval of the centered
One man
male.
of one
Yeah,
man.
that's so hard. Like, that's so hard on us,
Mm,
on our intuition, on our creativity, on our energy, on our all the things that make being a woman amazing, I feel, start to
yeah.
dull and start to become exhausted because we have no energy left to pour back into ourselves.
Perfect segue into our next headliner, The Damage Done. Being pick me's, abandoning our sisters, elevating men, making excuses for them, centering our lives and our purpose around a husband, a boss, whatever. It leads to ultimate self abandonment. No wonder these housewives were so depressed.
Mm,
It leads to a society where we tolerate and give children to violent men who have no consciousness or empathy to think of others or the earth, who just want to conquer. It's a big male shadow. Just
mm.
want to conquer and be powerful, right? Self abandonment becomes the default.
It has to. It has to be there for you to play a part in that system. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't participate otherwise. At some level, something is sacrificed and it's you.
To center men is to self abandon.
Yeah,
And that is how we are conditioned and brought up. But we're here and we're deconditioning it.
truly.
Our
Truly.
entire world is
I
centered
would,
around a man.
I want to share like just one example that I feel like is so relevant in my life is the journey I've seen my mom go on in the last like few years, just even the last year, 2 years. We work a lot together, just spiritually. She's like a friend and sister to me, too, not just my mother. And she's been going through quite a journey of her own awakening to her femininity and her all the ways that she was never tapped into the womanly side of herself, and really went into the masculine, being a single mom, right? Being alone for so long, raising us by herself, wearing all the hats, right? It puts a woman into that a lot. Would have these conversations for years after she got remarried to a man that is very kind and very successful financially. And she would always be like, I have no money. Like, I'm so poor. I have no money. And I'm like, Mom, you're married to a well-off person. Like, this is your life. And she couldn't cognize it because she inherently felt like it wasn't hers because she wasn't the one going to the office. And I was like, for years I was telling her, Mom, you literally raise the kids, you cook every single meal in the house, you plan every single appointment, you clean every single day, and you're building a business on the side. What do you mean? Like, that is your money. Just that cognition of owning her own value and what she was contributing, like we've been talking about, she couldn't even accept it or cognize it for so long. And then just this last year, she's finally like calling me like, Priscilla, I'm realizing, wow, how much value I bring to my family. And I'm like, yeah, mom, like literally, you're the
You're the
fucking
heart and
friend.
soul.
You're the literal heart and soul. Everyone knows it but you. Everyone sees it but you. And now she's shifted so much in her relationship to her spiritual path. Also, like money, though, right? And abundance, because it was so tied to that. And so, yeah, I just think it's such a good example of how much we can just not see it and not acknowledge it in the process of all this.
That goes back to the rhetoric of like the loser gold digger because she doesn't have
Hmm.
a job.
Yeah. And not acknowledging the level of contribution she's doing, actually, you know?
She does have a job. She got 17 jobs, by the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Right.
You know what my husband told me when we got married? He said, because I had a similar qualm,
Hmm.
right? Having like hacked it by myself for 28 years until we met. He said, "You're the queen. The queen doesn't have to build the kingdom, she just inherits it." I'm still building shit. I'm still out here busting my ass because I want to, because I believe in matriarchy and it's worth working towards.
Mm.
But I mean, that's a myth of capitalism and
Hmm.
demonizing rest in the feminine. Like, oh, you don't do anything because you don't XYZ. That can be commodified. Your mother, in your example, your mother's worth is not cannot be put in a box. Her contribution
Yes, exactly.
cannot be clearly defined. It's an abstract thing, but it is. If you think of the math in a healthy way, the masculine being the what and the how, the
Hmm.
feminine is the why.
Exactly.
So
Well, and another theory I have is that type of job can't be taxed.
Yeah.
yeah, of course, it can't be
Exactly.
quantified and then can't be
Not there's
commodified.
no one
Hmm.
number on it, right? It's not quantifiable, and that's exactly what makes it unseen, right? From the patriarchal point of view.
Hmm. And this
Unseen
is
labor.
another way that all of patriarchy and centering men is hurtful is that our intuition, our inner knowing, our instinct of how to exist in harmony and with joy is completely repressed because the external validation, just trying to have that to survive,
Mm.
outranks what
Hmm.
we naturally would do. How do we create a world where our intuition and instinct as women becomes as important as our need to have attention from males?
And I think we're getting there. You know, a lot of us are we're getting there. We know it, we see it, we're going towards it. And it's a very exciting time to be building what we're building. I'm actually like even more amped up about it just with this topic. We've been doing this for like 3, 4 years now together, right? And but what a like perfect little microcosm of all this, right? Us building what we've built together and how we want to build it and how we want to build it going forward is contributing to all of this too. You know, and
Yeah.
that's exciting. That's really exciting. How do we want it to look? How do
I'm
we
not
want
saying that men shouldn't be in leadership. I'm just saying that I don't believe that a male body or biology, first and foremost, knows what is best for the tribe. That is our grandmothers. Period. That is mom. I was saying to Sam the other day, there is only one religion, and her name is mother.
yeah. Grandmother Willow. Let's go back to Grandmother Willow.
Mhm.
So all of this, let's talk about how do we actually decenter men. Kind of
Mhm.
danced around it a little bit. What does that look like? Let's go over to our tool expert,
Hmm.
Noto.
Well, the first thing is, how do you move forward? You have to figure out where you're at. So, I mean, the first point of business is going to be to notice, to start noticing and tracking where that orientation shows up for you. Where have you unconsciously centered men in your life through your behavior, through your emotions? Where is that showing up for you before you change any of it? We just want to notice and
Mhm.
get like, check the temperature, figure out where we're at with all of it and see, where is this showing up and how am I doing it? How am I contributing to this? And then once you figure that out, once you figure out, oh, this is where I do it, you have to make a conscious decision to stop performing. right? To stop showing up when you're not available, to stop pouring into things that you're not being recognized for or that are not for you or for the betterment of the tribe, you know? You have to make a commitment and then really go all in and stopping those behaviors. And at first, it's going to be really, really uncomfortable. A great, perfect intro example or practice of this would be to try and not smile for one day.
Ooh.
You just looking at, we have been trained as women to smile, to be pleasant, right? To make other people feel comfortable. And that's why, trigger alert, I'm going to talk about SA. You know, in a lot of situations, the women say, I knew. I could feel that something was off, but I stayed anyways. I could tell something was off, but I just completely froze. And this is that don't make other people uncomfortable. Don't rock the boat, right? So try and not smile at men for a day and just see what that does for you and how uncomfortable it makes you feel. And this is going to show you how deeply this is embedded in the nervous system.
I think I'm going to
It's
implement
crazy.
that as a rule for myself. I only smile at women, girls. The girls, gays, and days can get my smile. Everyone else, I'm going to mean mug you. And if you think I'm a bitch, that's fine.
That's your own internal programming, really, truly. So, you know, we have to notice, we have to stop performing, and then we have to recenter our female friendships, our community. Like, this is so big as our primary, not as our backup. This, like, I will tell you from personal experience, my female relationships have saved me. They've saved my life on so many occasions. And if I didn't have that community, I would have been lost, honestly.
Can we also say, like, when we're talking about community, we're talking about female relationships?
Yes.
Yes.
We're talking about female friendships, ride or die friendships. And like, that was literally going to be my same one, Lauren, is like, don't be looking for your man. Don't be looking for dating if you don't already have what we're talking about.
Yeah, if you don't already have a community, build that first because you're going to need so much less from that man because you're going to get it from your female relationships. And then you're going to be choosing less out of desperation for just physical touch or some emotional connection because you already have it with your girlfriends.
We should be dating our friends, like in that mentality of I want to put love to this relationship. I want to put time to this relationship. I want to give words of affirmation or gifts or all the love. Like we should be treating our friends that way. But a lot of times we segregate that just for a romantic pursuit, which is another result of patriarchy, by the way. So you want to unpackage that, start like loving on your friends the same way you would want to be loved while dating or how you would want to share love while dating. And the other thing I want to say, how do we start doing this, is stop infantilizing men. This is one of the greatest starting points that I implemented years ago when I was really starting this kind of work on decentering men and like my relationship to men as a whole and self-empowerment, is all the ways, as particularly if you are straight or even bisexual, you have a heterosexual relationship, right, with a man as a woman. It is wild the amount of ways we have normalized infantilizing men's incapabilities and letting them use that and weaponize their incapability, feigned incapabilities, to put more labor and weight and responsibility on the woman. This happens in all the myriad of ways we laugh at, we joke about, we roll our eyes, and we just let keep happening. For example, honey, can you get soap from the store? We're out. He's like, oh, I don't know which one you want, so I didn't get it. Or, honey, can you pick up, we need a replacement water filter. And calls you, grabs the wrong one, brings it back, and is like, oh, sorry, I got the wrong one. And then you just do it next time because he did it wrong. There's so many little moments like this that play out in heterosexual dynamics where the man quite literally actually does, even if he's not fully conscious of it, feeds the incapability. You keep showing up and overtaking the weight and responsibility in the relationship. You feel drained, you feel alone, you feel like you're doing everything by yourself. You don't have any more sexual attraction to him. You're fucking depleted. You have nothing to give your friends. You have nothing to give your community. This happens all the time. So please start noticing. If you can easily figure it out, if your girlfriend could easily do it, if you would trust yourself or women in your life to do it, you best believe you should be having that same standard for a man. And if he doesn't meet it, why are you with him? Literally what it is. And
I
it
want to bring
Yeah.
up.
drives me bonkers. And I hate it. I see it. It's like when I see it now, I have such an ick, because once you get out of it and you see how much other women are in it, you're like, oh my God, it's so cringe to me because I'm like, how I know one, your
They're a
sexual
full grown adult.
your sexual relationship is horrible if that's happening, by the way. Like your connection will eventually totally go away because it rips away
Because it's
the
becoming a
fact.
parent child
Exactly.
relationship and not
Exactly.
a lover to lover.
I want to talk about how we get there. How
Yeah.
how to not how to completely avoid that. Uh, One, you need to understand femininity is to be protected and cherished. Masculinity is to be earned. Men
Mm-hmm.
aren't going through rites of passage where they get dropped off in the forest with a knife and nothing else for a week in their coming of age. That's not happening. And so we have full grown boys, is who we're talking about. When we say not all men, we're talking
Hmm.
about men who are actually men and understand what that means and respect the feminine and cherish and honor it and take
Mm-hmm.
up their duty
Yep.
in conjunction with the feminine.
Yeah.
But
Precisely.
most of these full grown males we see out here are boys.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you ever get into a relationship with a boy, you will know because you will very quickly become his mother. And nothing good will
Yep.
come out of that. Take it from me.
Take it from me.
Take it
We
from
take it from me, take it from all of us. We've all lived this experience.
Mhm.
We,
How do we not get in a relationship with a boy?
We test them.
We don't give him the benefit of the doubt.
nope.
We don't infantilize, like P was saying. We don't
Hmm.
infantilize.
You see it, you
Hmm.
sniff it in the beginning, and you don't think it's fucking cute. You don't want to make it your pet. You don't want to heal it. You don't want to help grow it. I have no interest. Make it your ick. Make it your ick. Fake it till
If
you
you
make it your ick. Like
if
seriously.
you are a full
Seriously.
grown adult, male or female, and you can't do basic things like your
No,
laundry correctly, keeping your house clean, cooking for yourself, grocery shopping,
no.
if you can't
Uh-uh.
do these basic things for yourself, keeping a plant alive,
Bro, it's so sad to talk about, but literally it's so
we
true.
let men get away with this because in
I know.
patriarchy, they're all exalted and they all get wives
It's so
automatically without having to prove it. And it's so backwards because masculinity is to be proven.
and actually it wants that. That's the truth
Yeah.
too.
Uh-huh.
Like energetically,
Men
the
want to be
masculine
men.
actually does want that, actually feels better proving themselves, actually feel better earning it.
Hmm.
That's the whole catch
So,
20.
Sav, I want to hear from you why it's important to decenter inside relationships and why
Mm,
it's harder than
Mm-hmm.
and more necessary than not being in a relationship with you being in a committed, loving marriage.
yeah. So first off, you have to be with the right person.
Yeah.
Like I was just saying, there's no way I can decenter a man if I'm actively treating him as my son and he is
Yep.
relying upon me and we've built that dynamic. But if you are with a man, a real actual man, which I am, thank the goddess. Thank goddess for that. I mean, I'm decentering my husband all the time. All the time I'm decentering him and recentering myself. And guess what? He's still in the center. He's still in the center. It is tempting from my very patriarchal, colonial, Christian upbringing. It is still ingrained in me after a decade of deconstruction to want to center my entire being, my entire world, and everything around him. And I'm not talking about our marriage and our partnership. I'm talking about like
The
just
kid's
him.
life.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm raised to cater and
Mm-hmm.
excuse
Mm-hmm.
and do whatever they say. I'm raised in that way. And so it's a daily, hourly practice that I have to have with myself to remind myself I am his equal because
Yeah.
my condition would have me forget that, would very much have me forget what I bring to the table, all of my value, my contributions, what I hold energetically. So I have to remind myself, and I journal about that often, about like, because my husband is a big person. He's one of those larger than life people.
Yep.
So it's a lot to be an equal to. And like, there's no shortage of low self esteem available to women in the world. And I'm not immune to that. So I have
Yeah.
to constantly remind myself I'm his equal and how I am his equal.
Hmm.
and rise to that. You
Yep.
know, it's not about bringing him down. It's actually about bringing
Bring
myself
yourself
into
up.
tandem.
We'll just be all talking and we'll remind you of that, and we'll remind each other of that. But like, be like, Sab, like you've done so much for the house this week, and you're like, have yeah, dude, what are you talking about? You went to like 17 appointments for all the other people, not you, for the pets, for the car, for the house, for Sam, like for the community, whatever it is, right? And again,
Yeah.
it's like we can't even clock it ourselves sometimes, so it helps
Mhm.
to have each other too.
My husband's enterprises have flourished in the time we've been together. And it's so hard to directly claim as my
Mhm.
doing, but I know it is.
Yeah.
And
And
his.
you guys have made so many improvements and upgrades and developments on the house and for the community. And like those things, if
Yep.
you weren't there, that none of those things would have happened.
Hmm.
We can continue this conversation until next Wednesday, but that is the tea. We hope that it's got you thinking and introspecting. Remember, we don't need to be bringing guilt or shame down upon us if, like, hey, maybe I am a pygmisha. Maybe I am in a relationship with someone who's my son. That's okay. We just need to find the awareness of it. And with that awareness, we can begin to shift. When we look at something, it is able to alchemize and able to shift. Let us know in the comments or on Instagram at National Intuitive Academy. Any thoughts, any questions? We would love to hear from you. And we hope this did something for you or validated you in a really important way today.
Just a reminder, matriarchy is a call back to personal power. No matter what type of body or gender or sex you have, it brings us all back to our real power and sovereignty. And it's going to be quite a gift for all of us in the world. So, cheers to that.
Just listening today, you are doing the work.